have a quorum. I will call the meeting of July 19th of the Conservation Commission open. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And we have some new public hearings. So the first one on our agenda is 273 South Street, which I will read into the record. Under the Wetland Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40 of Mass General Law is amended, and the West Bridgewater Wetland Protection Bylaw Rules and Regulations, the West Bridgewater Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing the 19th of July, 2016, in the McDonald Brown Conference Room, 65 North Main Street, for a request of a termination of applicability filed by Collins Engineering on behalf of Carol Bishop for activities associated with an upgrade to a residential septic system in the buffer zone at 273 South Street. We're open. You have some cards?
Yes, I do.
It's here. I'll take them.
My name is Dave Clark. I'm from Collins Civil Engineering Group, and I'm here to represent 273 South Main Street in an RDA filing in front of this commission tonight. And what we have here is it's a typical septic repair on 273 South Main Street. The color designations are the yellow is the property line. The green is the wetland line. I believe it was delineated by Brooke Monroe, soil scientist out of Carver. The orange is the 50, and the pink is the 100-foot buffer. This site does not fall within any special designated site. It's not in the National Heritage. It's not in the flood zone. This site is basically a lawn site in the back. It's lawn coming out on both sides. It's a small house, 2-bedroom. It is going to be in front of the Board of Health this Thursday for review. I don't think there's going to be any problem with that review Thursday morning. That we're proposing, the existing septic system is in the back of the house. It's between the wetland and the 50-foot buffer. It's a leaching pit, and it's going to be abandoned. We're just going to keep it in place and abandon it. All the work is going to be between the 50 and the 100, and just a portion of the work will be outside of the 100-foot buffer. We're going to be as close to the wetlands as 64 feet with our siltation fence. So our siltation fence is going to come down on the north side of the property. It's right here in the gray dash line. And it's going to cut over to the front corner of the house. The system is partially in the 100-foot, the existing, the SAS system itself. And we're going to be removing the tank and replacing the tank out front. So there'll be a new tank in there. It's not a mounted system. It's going to fit right in with the surrounding area of the house. There are slopes that come off pretty rough or pretty steep on the both sides of the house, and they go back. All the construction is going to take place in the front of the house. So
You said there was a leaching pit in the back,
there's a leaching pit in the back. It's here by the
so
circle.
there's nothing in the front now.
There's nothing in the front.
Was the house gonna
A
be
few
sold,
trees.
or?
The house, we're looking to sell, the owner of the house is looking to sell. They want to close at the end of this month. They're kind of in a rush. Buyer, the buyer is a young couple, and their names are Perez, Megan Perez. This is her father tonight, Rick Lundeen. They want to get everything expedited pretty quickly here. They want to come in, get the system in before the new buyers close at the end of the month. So this is kind of a little bit of a push job. I only went in the direction of an RDA because we had filed one in April that was almost identical to this, and the board found it to be approved. So that's why I steered the clients into that RDA direction.
John, your report?
Yeah, I do concur that because of the fact that it's in the front yard and the house is a barrier to the backyard, where the wetland is located, I felt that it would be unnecessary to require a notice of intent. I do have a couple of comments to make, though. The cesspool in the back, as the plan indicates, they're not just abandoning it, they're going to pump it and fill it in with most likely sand or some type of soil. So that won't be a pit that would eventually collapse. And then the other thing that I wanted to question you about is, you said it was delineated by Brook?
Yes, I believe in the report, Brooke has a report at the very end of the RDA report. Her findings from Pine Brook Consulting.
When I went out to inspect the site, I happen to know the various botanists and their style of flagging and how they label their flags. So I was a little suspicious about finding the flags in the format that was out at the site. So I called Brooke, and she did not, in fact, delineate it. It was delineated by someone from your firm.
That's okay.
And-
It was delineated by someone from the firm, but George specifically had Brooke go out there to make sure that the flags were in the right place.
All right, and the reason I wanted to make the distinction is that it's really the botanists who should go out, flag it, the engineers locate the botanist flags, then I go out and review it, not the botanists. So in the future, when I encounter that, I will flag it myself, come to the meeting and explain that there's flags out there that I set, continue the public hearing for you to go back and locate my flags, and then we'll proceed. But this is the last chance that I'll give you guys, because I've told your firm, you are not botanists, you do not flag, hire a botanist. Every other engineer has to do that, and I want to make a level playing field for all the people that work and bring things to this commission. So if you do it again, I'm going to flag it and continue a public hearing, which is unfair to your clients, and make you go out and locate my flags, and then we'll discuss it. All right? So, go ahead. I was just going to say, other than that,
Because we're going into within the 50-foot buffer, do we need a variance to bring equipment into that area to fill it?
it's just a temporary disturbance, so we could do it and make it a real formal thing, or not. So it's probably the best.
Usually we would not for something.
If they were actually going to put part of the system in there, then I would say we need to grant them that, but it's only temporary while they go out with the,
Yeah, gotcha.
Question also, in the front of the property, is it an old well? Is it functioning, or is it just something for looks?
right next to the test pit.
Yeah, I
We own
didn't
to
see
the-
it on your plan, but I know that there
No.
is from the site a well out there, and I just didn't wanna,
They have water from the street, and that's.
I just figured if you're
That's-
there filling in
yeah.
a thing in the back, if there's little kids or people gonna be there, if it's an old well that isn't working and not gonna be
That
used,
well is not used. for
would
them.
you wanna deal with that at the same time?
Yeah,
and
I
decommission
really,
that
yeah,
and-
I'd have to leave it, because I know that's the stone well that the stone
Right,
well that's in
close to
front.
the road and,
Yeah, I think that would have to be up to the buyers, but they would probably,
I think that's being done. It's gonna
Okay.
be filled, taken down and filled in.
Just
They don't
thinking
want
if they're
that.
there with
Yeah.
equipment already, it's not gonna take much to
Yeah.
make that safety hazard go away. All right, anybody have anything else?
Sorry.
At that point, then I think we can close the hearing.
No.
Oh. that's right,
So
we
I'm
had the
recommending,
posting.
I'm recommending that it be a -3
Yep,
determination, which means that it is within the jurisdiction, but the work as shown on the plan does not alter a wetland, so it doesn't need a notice of intent. Because of the legal ad posting and not a sufficient number of days, that you can't close the public hearing. But at least the engineer and the applicant and the father
forward with it.
will know that there's no issue here at all, and it's not going to hold you up.
That being discussed, then I will entertain a motion to issue a -3.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Oh, we can't do that. Just have to continue it and then,
And then just,
yeah.
Next meeting.
So does that mean the work cannot begin, or?
Under a request, you can do it at your own risk without any penalty,
Within the 5 days?
without even waiting for the time period.
But because we know it will be,
Yeah. Notice of intent with an order conditions, that wouldn't work, but under the request, they can do
Right.
that. At their own risk. So if somebody appealed it, they would have to stop.
so we need a motion to.
Motion to continue.
I'll make a motion to continue
Second
to
that.
next
moved
meeting.
and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Put this back here, unless someone else wants to use it.
Yeah, somebody else will use it.
And the next one is 6 Woodrow Lane. That one is the record. Under the Wetland Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40 of Mass General Law is amended, and the West Bridgewater Wetland Protection Bylaw, Rules and Regulations. The West Bridgewater Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing the 19th of July, 2016, in the McDonald Brown Conference Room, 65 North Main Street, for a notice of intent filed by Peter LaVoy on behalf of Ryan Cook for a proposed construction of a new single-family home, driveway, septic system, and other amenities within the 100-foot BBW at 6 Woodrow Lane. We're open. Have
Good
any
evening, my
cards?
name's Peter Lavoy. I'm here representing Woodrow Estates LLC and Ryan Cook. Woodrow Lane runs along the bottom here. Brook Street is on this side of the page. So we have an existing vacant lot, Lot 4, which is roughly 72,000 square feet in size. We have a conservation easement that runs along the back right here at 50. And the total area of that conservation easement is roughly 51,000 square feet in size. So from this point here back is that conservation easement. We have our wetland line that was part of the subdivision in this green right here, so that is wet. We have a 50-foot no disturb, ND, no disturb line right here. And then we have the 100-foot buffer that runs along this right here. Basically, the lot slopes from Woodrow Lane back to the wetlands, so the road is higher than actually the lot. Basically, what we're proposing the proposed system in the front yard in this location here in pink. Proposed house in this location here with the driveway, side entrance. And then this is the water line that will come in. The backyard will be a walkout, so very minimal grading in the backyard here. Mainly you're gonna fill the front yard to construct this. And then this grade along the back here is basically gonna stay at the existing grade. That's out there now. I do have proposed recharge in this location here. There was some construction on lot 5, this retaining wall right here that was added after the certificate of compliance that was done. But that is in an easement. They did find that out when we did the as-built of the lot. We noticed that retaining wall was over the property. So then we prepared a 81X plan for that wall. So that wall is within an easement, and that was one of John's questions. And that's
So that basically means you can leave it, because
Correct, yep.
someone's agreed to leave it alone there.
Right, and the buyer that will or the person that's gonna buy this lot will be encumbered by that easement, but they buy it that way, so they can't complain at that point.
Right, we left, for maintenance of the wall, we left a 5-foot space, so if they had to maintain that wall, they would have the ability to go on that property and prepare, repair it. and that's basically it.
So the lot itself now sits lower than the road,
Correct,
so the front's gonna be built up.
correct.
Is there any, street drains out front or anything like that, or is everything just gonna be kinda,
All drainage is gonna go towards the back.
everything's gonna even off the road?
Not off the road, no, the road, there is a high point right at the right of way, so
Okay.
the roadway will not come into the property, so it comes up and then it goes down.
Okay,
But this whole, this slope here is like 2%, and then you have the 3-to-1 slope here, and then this is flat in the backyard.
so even off the driveway, everything's gonna go back?
The driveway, yes, yep, it's gonna go
Okay.
down the 3-to-1 slope.
Okay.
But this distance from here to the 50 foot, you're looking, it's, it's 50 feet from the
Mhm.
bottom of the slope. So here's your 100-foot buffer.
Yeah,
So you have 100 feet before, and the last 50 feet will be undisturbed. And
yeah,
we'll-
just dispersing.
Correct, yep. Backyard's gonna be flat.
What about the drains,
What drains?
house,
The foundation drain?
for the roof and,
Oh, the roof's gonna be collected and put into this underground basin on the right-hand side.
oh, all right.
All right, any other questions, John?
Peter has incorporated everything that we always look for, the pipes along the easement line, the roof drain, the drainage, so it doesn't impact the neighbors or the street. And it's a very good plan. So he answered the question that I was concerned about with the easement. Even though it's nothing that we should worry about, we'd like to at least alert a potential new homeowner if there's a problem, and he's already addressed it, so,
And that would just be the homeowner's problem then?
yes, if they didn't want to buy it that way, they won't
Yeah.
buy it, so.
All right, and understanding that, anybody else any other questions? Because of the filing dates, we need to extend this one for.
Yes, but you don't need to come back, we'll just issue the order at the next meeting.
Okay.
Close the hearing and be done with it.
Because they would have to wait anyways for you guys to sign
Right.
to the next meeting.
But what we'll do is we'll just expedite that part of it so that there's really virtually no difference in time frame.
Okay, because they
Right.
wouldn't have been able to pull, I'm just asking a question, they wouldn't be able to pull a foundation permit until after the next meeting anyways.
Right.
I just want to have the answers
When
when
we
I
get
call
it.
Jim and I tell him, that's all.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I'm just trying to be, I just want to make sure.
And you can assure them that, we'll have all of that stuff at the next meeting to sign, so that there won't be
Okay.
any
Okay, that's fine.
time delay.
Okay, thank you.
We won't take the full 21 days after we close it,
Mhm.
all right?
All right, and I'll entertain a motion to continue.
Motion to continue?
I'll second it.
Moving second, all those in favor?
All right.
So moved.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, and we have continuance to August 2nd for 260 Crescent Street.
This is Smokey's Place,
Smoky Bones.
and they,
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
One of Glad Acres, right?
No, this
Oh.
is,
I'm thinking of that one.
this is a little stub cul-de-sac driveway at this point off of Crescent Street near 200 Crescent Street. And they're trying to go before the planning board on an informal basis to try to get an additional lot and have a small subdivision, 1 lot or 2 lot subdivision. And rather than continuing through the process, if it's not going to fly and pass with the planning board, they just want to continue our work until, or our decision until they know that it'll go through the planning board.
Everybody's trying to squeeze things in up in that area.
Yeah.
After that one down there, where the sign hadn't gone in.
Oh, yes, yep. So they've requested a continuance.
Right, I'll entertain a motion to continue.
I'll make the motion.
Moved, do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor? So moved. All right. I think that takes us off the public hearing part. Any administrative discussions?
Yeah, the first one is a request for a certificate of compliance for 45 South Main Street. This is that brick house near the power lines, near Benton Courts. So you got Benton Courts, a house, and then this one, and then the power line, and then the river. They have submitted a as-built plan with, oh, you got enough? You got enough plans?
Yeah, we can,
Colored photograph showing how well the grass has been established there, which is usually a concern, even if all of the work has been certified. Oftentimes, we find that the grass is either non-existent or not very dense enough to prevent any erosion. So, we've received the letter. They've provided the compensatory storage area at the rear of the house because they had to fill some of the floodplain because it's a mounded septic system. And the mounded septic system is located at the right front of the house. So they had to raise the grade quite a bit there, and it's all in a floodplain. So they took away some of the floodplain by filling, and so they had to compensate by digging out. So that's what they did directly behind the house. They have a little bowl there. And I was out there today, and you can actually see part of it in this far left photograph. It's the little depression down in here. And since this was done back in June, the grass has even gotten better, because you'll notice a few bare spots here. Well, there's none there now, so they've done everything they need to do, so I'm recommending issuing a certificate of compliance without any bond required.
What do they have for a septic system there before?
Cesspools
I
and
don't know where that was going.
and
Yeah.
maybe an overflow, but we don't know that for a fact.
all right, I'll entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance without a bond.
If that house wasn't there, I wouldn't be able to
Make that motion.
I know.
It's sweet. I'll
Yeah,
second.
I know.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And you have that paperwork for us to sign? That's okay, we'll put it on a punch list.
I will run upstairs and take care of that. And you'd think I had all day to get this done. All right.
Maybe I have an extra thing, wait a minute. I have an extra something around in here. No, it's financial things, okay, sorry.
So, it's unfortunate that all the next three items, I need to at least discuss it with you so that I can't run up there and let it
Well,
just.
that's okay, we can,
All run up with me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Number 5 item, if you recall, a while back, the commission was asked to vote to accept a 110-acre parcel of land down off of South Elm, Scotland Street, and Maple Street, behind the proposed 40B project, and that they were deeding that to the commission to be restricted in its use for only conservation purposes as part of the natural heritage permit, due to the fact that this project's being built in a estimated habitat of rare endangered species. So in order to overcome that fact that it's in an area where that endangered species is, they have to do certain things as part of the development, and some of them are going to be creating turtle nesting sites on the lower part of the development so that the turtles can come up, lay their eggs, and the species will be able to survive. In addition, because that's maybe not sufficient enough, Natural Heritage has asked them to restrict the use on adjacent land. And so the developer for the 40B has negotiated with the owner of the property, Hasiotis, to sell or gift the Conservation Commission the 110 acres, and we would be stewards of the land to prevent any future alteration of the property. Since then, the vote where the commission decided that they would accept that property, we found out that also the Board of Selectmen need to accept the property. And that is now waiting for them to either accept it, which might be difficult for them to, because of the 40B and the neighborhood discussion about the 40B. It really puts them in a different position than the commission. The commission is always eager to protect resources, but it's not really the job of the selectmen, but because they are the town governing body, they need to be part of it. So in looking through the different advisories and guidance work papers, we have found that if the commission were to buy it for $1, then we only need to purchase it and not have to get Board of Selectmen approval or agreement to accept it. Also, I found out that the Natural Heritage is not satisfied with only the 110 acres. They need 18.95 acres of additional land. And there is apparently some agreement that the Andersons will sell that 18.95 acres to the developer, and then in turn the developer will convey it, or it may come directly to the commission. So the same type of situation would be there, that it would be done for $1, which means that it's not a gift. If it's a gift, it has to have both acceptance by commission and the Board of Selectmen. If it's a purchase, it only needs you to purchase it. And again, that's not enough for Natural Heritage. The developer is committing to additional lands in Bridgewater to restrict any development on that land. So it's a pretty serious restriction or requirement for this developer in order to do his 40B in an estimated habitat of rare endangered species. So much so to require him to do all of this and gift that land. Some people have called the office and asked if it's wise for the commission to do this, and my opinion is that the developer doesn't have to give it to us. They can give it to the Wildlife Department of Wildlife, to a land trust. One way or another, whoever gets it, it's going to be restricted, and we would have no control over it if we weren't the deed holder. And we'd be subject to whatever the other agencies or land trusts would require or let us do or not do. At least with being the stewards of the land, yes, it's going to require us to make sure that no disturbance is happening out there. But we do that on any of our land anyway, and if we encounter someone doing some trespass or encroaching, we have to deal with it. Well, that's all we have to do here too. We don't have to do any studies. We don't have to go out and monument the property lines and spend money on surveys and all that kind of thing. So I checked with Natural Heritage, and they feel that as long as we steward our own conservation land now, we just do the same for this. So there really isn't any downside on it, because one way or another, it's gonna go as exempt property to the Mass Department of Wildlife or to a land trust. And so I think it's important that the commission do get the land for $1. And that way it makes it done. We don't have to put the selectmen in any difficult position. Because I'm sure they have pressure from people who don't want the town to accept it because it could affect the development, but as I pointed out, it won't, because the developer will just,
Somebody's gonna get the land.
yes. So it's not gonna stop it, and in that way, the selectmen don't have to go out and be agreeable to it, which kinda alludes, or makes it sound like they're supporting the development when they may not necessarily feel that they want the development.
So now, that 110 acres, is that farmland, is that 61A?
It is, and that means the farmer will not be able to farm it.
Okay, so if that, it is gifted to the conservation for $1, doesn't that have to come out of 61A?
No, Hasiotis doesn't have it in
It wasn't
61A.
in 61.
Oh, it wasn't, okay.
No, I'm not sure about the Anderson property.
Yeah, I don't even, I'm trying to figure out what's going on, I heard something about that. That, I don't know if it is or not either, but if it does, if it is under 61A and it's gifted to the conservation, who pays to have it taken out? Do we, as a conservation?
No, the seller.
The
The
seller has
responsibility
it.
of the seller
Okay.
to pay.
Now, I have no idea what's going on, but even if Hasiotis or my family, would you say they're gonna do it for $1?
Yes.
Okay, so say for 5 years, is it 5 years back taxes? So what happens if they wanna say, okay, you can have it for this,
Well, it's,
instead of gifting it for $1?
if that's the case, then I would say, we have to rethink the whole
Yeah.
thing. But
I don't know.
the way it sounds like to me, the developer is paying for the land,
Okay,
and once it's been all paid for, then that developer sells it to us, but they need to know whether we want it or does it go to
okay,
some
so
other entity.
he's basically handling it
Yeah.
on that side.
Yeah.
Okay,
So this project is moving forward, no doubt about it. You wouldn't buy that land if
Right.
it wasn't.
Or the land over
Yeah.
in Bridgewater.
even with 40B though, if, like, we put up a big enough stand, couldn't they just say, okay, like, over across where your place is, if you went too far with them, they can come in and basically do whatever they want
Well,
to
they,
a certain point?
no, they can't, because of the natural heritage. So
Oh, that's true, yeah.
that's the difference.
That's the
Over there
difference,
was none like
Okay.
that. So
there'll
they,
be buffers with natural heritage.
There's more restrictions.
There's
more,
more
more
restrictions,
restricted
okay.
because of the Endangered
They
Species
can't-
Act.
They can't go over their heads,
Yeah.
basically.
So I have a question, maybe a little
That's okay.
cynical. But, so he's giving this, what's he getting?
To be able to
To
do the
be able to do the
To
development.
development
To be able to do the
in
development. He's got-
the species, in the
No,
habitat?
no, well,
okay.
it's on the upland high ground of the parcel. And so, in order to satisfy the natural heritage people, this land that he's conveying to the commission or anyone else, let's say, has to contain so much upland as well as wetlands. So some people have said, well, if you're buying wetlands, why take it, because it's wetlands that's protected anyway? Well, the natural heritage understood that and said, you just can't give us all swamp and rivers and whatever. It's gotta contain so many acres of upland with that wetland. And so I think that's why the additional Anderson's piece and the piece in Bridgewater
Yeah.
is all being added to it, because it's, there wasn't enough upland to satisfy
okay.
natural heritage, that those endangered species that their habitat is both upland and wetlands. There wasn't enough of it to make it worthwhile for the species to get up into. if he was gonna take everything
Right.
on the upland side. So basically, that's what they're doing, is they're building the infrastructure of the development and the houses on the upland. And on the low end, they're doing some turtle habitat areas and some barriers to prevent the turtles from getting up and mixing with lawns and things that, where they would be harmed.
Right.
And some proper fencing and some proper monitoring. And along with restricting the use of both upland and a lot of wetlands, but it's important to note that the farmer was farming in wetlands. It was a allowable activity because of, it was a continual operation from years past. And so this type of thing will now prevent the wetlands from being altered by farming. And so that's a good thing also.
So if he wasn't able to get this extra land, he wouldn't be able to do it then.
Right.
And-
Well,
and-
he just finds some additional land
Somewhere
to buy.
else, somebody else.
Somewhere else in town?
Yeah.
Yep, along the same basic
Yeah, but if he couldn't.
town river
Yeah.
type of thing.
Geez.
So the endangered species is not losing out.
Right.
Because I couldn't understand why we would get something from Bridgewater and how that would apply to helping that, but I get it now.
Yep, so
Can we
with, the-
do anything with that land, or is it?
can we?
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing.
Not for municipal things, but we can go out and
Passive recreation.
passive
trails.
recreation on it.
No.
Camping? No?
Yeah, as long as it's not, you cut down a big
Yeah.
campground and build a
Yeah.
septic system for people.
So
that-
basically,
Pitching a
you couldn't
tent
go
and you're not
with
taking
the
your
tent.
RV.
Basically, you're just gonna be able to leave it the way it is.
Yeah,
Right.
and hike on it, and we can't let four-wheel trucks and cars and jeeps, whatever else, go out in there and do
The
that kind of.
camping thing might be out, if they gotta go out there, like,
No RV out there.
no idea.
Oh,
Or, we'll put a tent in the middle of the thing, and let's drive out there.
Big RV with air
Might get a
conditioning.
four-wheeler or something.
The, of course, the airport
Oh, yeah.
airplane club, the one that used the radio controlled, will have to leave as well, but, as well as the farmer, but at least, the habitat is gonna be protected, and those species, birds, migrating birds and all that kind of thing, gonna be able to use it, and it should be a benefit. And again, because we'll have some say in it, that's why I'm recommending it. It's up to you though, but one way or another, he's gonna give it to somebody, and it's, we're getting a little bit of pressure from the developer to make a decision, because he's gotta move forward, and he doesn't wanna not live up to his original commitment to provide that land to the commission if they wanted it. So he says, if you don't want it, just tell me, and I'll deal with the other groups, but.
I think we should be able to have our say on it, and so I would,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree,
agree.
absolutely.
3 separate motions or one motion for all 3?
I would say if we could do the one for Scotland Street, 110 acres, that can happen right away. The other one needs to go
Needs to
through a
have-
process, but at least we can give him
Okay.
an indication that you will want it.
I'll entertain a motion to purchase the land of 110 acres off Scotland Street for $1.
I'll make that motion.
Second that.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And I'll entertain a motion for the purchase of 18.9 acres for $1.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
And Lee abstained?
Yeah, I
Yep.
have one abstain, I'm not saying no.
All right.
And what's the last one?
Number
Oh.
8, the contractor's yard, North Main Street.
Oh, yes, 695 North Main Street, the contractor's yard that's up on the right-hand side as you're heading towards Brockton. They did a foreclosure apparently, put it up for auction, and a local person from West Bridgewater is purchasing it, and the law office that's handling it for the bank has asked that we give them some indication of what will satisfy lifting the enforcement order on it. So I did some research, and originally the enforcement order required them to submit a notice of intent, for restoring the wetlands and taking the fill out of there. And that was eventually approved and issued an order of conditions by the previous Conservation Commission. And I met with the landowner the other day and explained to him what that entailed, taking the junk out of there, living to a specified line that's shown on the plan that the order of conditions did say there's gonna be a line that's gonna be your boundary. You cannot go beyond that ever again. He's okay with it. He just wants to work out the numbers as to what it's gonna cost to replant that area. And he thinks it's workable, and so if we can give both the potential the new owner and the legal counsel an idea that will satisfy the enforcement order that's on record, then they'll go forward with it. And I think it's a win for the town finally after a long battle. And I'm recommending that you do that, and that I send a letter specifying that will satisfy the enforcement order.
Is that the landscaping yard?
Yeah, with all the mulch and everything else.
Yeah.
Junkie Blue
Yeah.
House.
Yeah, thank God.
Good resolution that needs
I
to
know,
happen,
yeah,
so
my
I'll
God.
entertain a motion to authorize a letter to be sent.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved, finally.
Okay. 188 South Street. I received a non-anonymous
That would be from me.
heads
Of which there are pictures to follow.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
heads up on this. This particular site's on a spot that doesn't have any wetlands, so it received a building permit, which we're part of the sign-off
I got a
process.
complaint from an abutter, so I brought it forward to us.
Part of the building permit process requires a sign-off from conservation if
They were
there's no
done.
filing. So no wetlands, no filings necessary, but this is a good example of why a stormwater bylaw is important, in that site heavily impacted the neighbor across the street by having all of the muddy water and sediments wash into their driveway and into their yard. It ran out onto the street and down the gutter line to a catch basin. And so our street drainage system in town now has been impacted by a builder who didn't have to do anything. Under a stormwater bylaw permit, even if he did not have to go through a rigorous public hearing due to the small nature of the project, they would still be required to do erosion control. And so that would prevent this type of thing from happening. Or if it didn't prevent it, would allow us to step right in and have it rectified right away instead of waiting for a meeting to ask you to vote to have me deal with it. So I think it unfortunate that it happened, but it's a good example of how a small little project can heavily impact both the neighbor and the street system and get us in trouble with the EPA if they were ever to see that. So I do recommend that you have me contact the builder and have him put in some erosion control to prevent it from happening. And I'm sure, based on how far along this construction project is, he's gonna be getting some loom down pretty soon anyway, but in the interim, we could get another thunderstorm
Flush that
and
out.
have it happen again.
Did you see
You
that?
get any seed.
Do you know where Donna
I mean,
Larson
it's,
is?
Oh, yeah.
got the rough grades been done for a while,
That's
and then
right
he's got
here.
loom on the
Oh.
right-hand side of
This
the,
is the neighbor.
it's been
and
piled
then
long
Jack
enough, the weeds are now
is right over there.
Oh.
taking over the
Wow.
piles of
Yeah,
snow.
these are
Something
turkey
you would
farms, I
foresee
think.
necessarily, so
Well,
we wouldn't have put
this is the-
erosion control in.
This is the third rainstorm that's happened since they started the project,
So he knows it
and it's happened 2 times before, not to this extent.
It's all mud.
This
Wow.
time,
It's
after that
happened.
1.5 inches the other day,
And that's
it
all from
really
that.
washed the yard
Wow.
apart. And even if they go and put seed down, and we get another rain, it's gonna happen again, so, I mean, the storm drain needs to get addressed, and then some type of barrier along
Street.
the street to keep it from just washing right out. And the whole site, when they rebuilt the house, was a tear down of the new house, it's
Mhm.
all sloped to pitch into the street,
Mm.
where the site before kind of pitched or leveled in the back, so it didn't all drain, and now it just kind of all goes across the street and into the neighbor's yard, and
Right.
And more, we're seeing that all these new houses, other 3 that are now going down on South Street that were part of that 61A first right of refusal that we tried on for the 3 house lots.
Mhm.
You know, those are all raised up
raised up and built way high above the street level.
and almost everything now is gonna be that due to the height above water table requirements for septic and the fact that a lot of developers don't want the basements to be in the water table and put sump pumps, so they try to keep them up. So it is gonna be one of the common things from now on, just like this, whether there's wetlands or not. So this stormwater bylaw that got passed and hasn't been approved yet by the AG, but they have 90 days to approve it. So the town clerk is indicating that that'll happen sometime late August, early September. So
So
we-
if that passes, what will happen with, they won't be able to go as high?
no, they can still do that. They'll just have to
Okay.
file a simple application, I'm anticipating, a simple application that says there's no wetlands involved, but we're gonna put in erosion control along the street to prevent this type of thing from happening, and we sign off on it, and they are on their merry way. If it's a wetland, filing it would be done in conjunction with what we do tonight.
So, say if they put erosion control down on this, we signed off on it, so
Yep.
it passed, and then it pushed through it all and came down the road. Would it be on us to do something about it, or?
Yeah, it would be, it'd be on us to be on top of it, to tell them to correct it, but we
Go
would.
back out there and
but
break,
we-
put some more, if it happens again,
Yep.
what you gotta do? I don't know. It's
But
kinda-
at this point, where this one, basically in town, all the storm drains drain into wetlands.
That's
I
why,
mean,
that's
so
why
it-
they're going around doing all that stuff to the, storm drains. You see, do not,
Right, don't
I see
pour
that.
anything in and
don't pour
they
anything,
drain
goes,
into,
drains to
yeah.
wetlands and all that stuff, like with like a little picture and everything.
the little stencils and,
Yeah.
yeah, that's part of
It's
the.
part of the EPA's
EPA
requirements now.
Chicken fat, the chicken fat
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah,
Turkey
so,
fat.
where this one is, I mean, I'm guessing that storm drain is pretty well plugged at this point.
So now could we, if it passed, say to him that he has to
Did
get
we
it
res-
dug out, part of,
Their responsibility to,
even like with part of our responsibility to sign off and say, okay, you have to put up some more erosion control, but you also have to now clean out the drain.
Yeah, we have the right to do
We
that
have the
now,
right to
if
tell
they,
them to
if
do
they
that.
violated the
Okay.
requirement, because the stormwater bylaw is to prevent this, so if they're not preventing it, we have a right to enforce it and say,
So they could say, oh, I
correct
had
it.
it up, but the water came down too quick, so they could just say, it's not my problem, I followed the rules. So-
Yep.
So now who does it?
but the rules
Yeah.
also require them to maintain it,
Yeah.
and prevent, siltation of the drain system, so.
Yeah.
and now that we've seen that, it may be one of the things that a development like this, we require some of those socks and barriers around the storm drains during construction.
Yep.
And it would force them to get the grass seed in and established, which really could have been done this spring. I mean,
It-
Nobody knows when those heavy rains are gonna come about either.
instead of the summer heavy rains, and now we're into thunderstorms, which this could easily be happening multiple more times,
Oh, yeah.
so,
Will we be enforcing the stormwater management?
yeah.
Yes. And it actually has a penalty section to it that if the first time they get a warning and an explanation of, like this one would be a good case. So we send them a letter saying, this is your warning, you've violated the stormwater bylaw, and you can correct it by doing X, Y, and Z. And they go and they do it. And then if they just say, okay, we're done, we don't have to worry anymore, and it does it again, we could assess them a fine for violating it a second time. So as long as they know that ahead of time, I think they would be probably much rather
Yeah.
maintain it, not let it happen
As
again.
long as it's substantial enough, it's not, $50 or something.
No, I think in the bylaw, and I can't remember for sure, but it was something like 150 or 200.
How big the town? Does the town have one of those?
Too bad it's not 11.50.
They
It
used
would.
it.
Yeah, I asked somebody to come in to do that, that's gonna get expensive,
Yep.
so.
So I'll entertain a motion for John to send a letter to the developer explaining the situation.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Move in second, all those in favor?
Right.
So moved. Number 10.
Oh.
South Elm Street, the cornfield, the
Where are
little
those cornfields?
This is part of the 110 acres, and I just happened to go by today as a result of doing an inspection down a little bit farther
just
down
past
the road.
brook,
Oh, yeah.
with the entrance right at
He
the brook.
was asking me, when is this,
What's that?
I was asking, when does this come into effect, and he goes, I'm just gonna keep on doing it until I'm told not to.
And I'd hate to see him put some money
So-
into it
Mm.
if it's
Yeah.
gonna happen, so I just wanted to have the permission to just contact him and give him a heads up.
Or you, like,
Yeah,
hang on
I
and
mean,
don't
that-
contact him.
Who's the farmer?
Or bring it to the attention
I can say
anyway,
something.
anyway,
So-
that can
But when
happen.
is that gonna, when do you think that'll,
Like
this, see what this thing?
this week or next week.
Okay. So I'll say something this week.
Because as soon as we say it, I've actually got a copy of the deed ready, they're just waiting so that they can put their signatures on it.
Alright.
So they changed it from a gift to an actual grant. And so they already had one with all their signatures, the Hasiotis Limited Partnership, with every one of the partners signing it. Now, all they'll do is they'll say, we're granting for $1, and they'll all sign it once we say yes, but that's all they're waiting for. So I imagine if I let them know tomorrow, they'll probably have it in their hands immediately.
Okay.
So I don't need to send the
Yeah.
letter then?
No, I'll stop on the way home.
All right.
No motion.
No motion.
Thanks, Lee.
And.
And Kitty, do we have anything to sign?
Yes.
Because I was gonna say, well, we're signing that if John wants to get his signature page.
Yep, I'll get up there and crank
We
that
can-
thing up. Anything that you need to ask me about before I go?
I think that's it.
Okay,
Here's max dues and meetings for our annual dues.
That's why Kitty has the little brochure in the packet.
And a note from Eugene, everybody.
And they do offer for anybody that has time during the summer, and fall, little workshops, courses, summer.
And John made some purchases of some things upstairs. So you got a Mason bill.
That's an expensive bill.
WD.
I know. I also had in your packet an announcement as to, who the new executive secretary will be.
I've yet to meet her.
And I guess that Mallory has another little boy.
Oh, she did, huh?
Say again?
Mallory had a boy.
Oh, she did.
Another
Ah.
boy.
She
I
knew
do
that.
not know the details. It happened on the 5th.
News
Right on
comes,
time.
Ooh.
the woman has the baby,
See, that's what fireworks do, yeah.
It's been a long time. Yeah, because Dawn was getting the details.
She doesn't like them, but she
Yeah, well,
doesn't
I know,
freak
it
out.
was just,
We're trying to
I
train
know
her.
there was some
She hates
fussing
motorcycles.
around with it,
Oh,
and that's why, I don't know what.
She absolutely hates those.
Oh, man.
See, where are these being held, or are they online?
I think online to look up where they have different ones, and some of them are actually offered,
I don't wanna go.
online.
So
Which you can do, you can do actually
Yeah.
online training
Well,
ones.
All I
certainly
know is what's
the,
there.
Oh, okay.
And other than that she's a very pleasant person.
Yeah, there's some,
That's a little bit of a hike.
Yeah.
in the fall. Okay, I see.
no, I haven't heard anything about that either. I was surprised when that came up as a,
I've heard a couple of things about that.
I think. Anybody have anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
What time is it?
1 o'clock. 7:25.
Okay.
I will make that motion.
Wow.
Moving and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Is
My goal was
Tracy-
7:30 tonight. I think we did okay.
Yeah.
We off?
Do we have a
Yeah,
new
yeah.
building inspector?
That's what Lee was just asking.
Oh, really?
Really?
But,
Did he apply?
I don't know, but the thing is, I don't know if he has all the.
Licensing, yeah.
Credentials.
And the thing that people have been saying,